Hi everyone, in this video I will be designing this portfolio website using HTML, CSS and Bootstrap. So let's see what we have in this project. So at the top we have a navigation, and inside the navigation we have some links and a logo, and then we have these social icons. Okay, and inside this hero section we have this main title and some text, description text, and then call to action button. So when I refresh the page, as you can see the animation, so I have used animate on scroll library for this kind of animation. Okay, so when I scroll down, as you can see the animation for this service title and these services boxes. Okay, so this animation occurs when you refresh the page or when you scroll to bottom. Okay, so what we have in the service section, we have this intro title and description, and then we have this service box in which we have an icon and some text, and then we have this link. Okay, so when I hover on this link, as you can see the animation of this arrow. Okay, so after that we have this portfolio section. So in the portfolio section we have these different portfolio items. So as you can see, when I hover on the portfolio item, you can see the animation, okay, which is looking cool. And after that we have this about us section. On the left side we have some text and a call to action button, and on the right side we have this an image. Okay, and after that we have this testimonial section in which we have the some text and this an image and information about this person. Okay, and after that we have this contact us form. Okay, and after the contact us form we have this Instagram post section, and finally footer. So this website is completely responsive, and I will be designing this from the very beginning, so make sure to watch the video from the start to finish, so you will be able to design templates like this, and you will learn about Bootstrap and the library that I have used, animate on scroll, and so on. So to the starter template, I have uploaded a starter template to the GitHub page, so I will put a link in the description so you guys can download the starter template from the GitHub page. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I have opened the starter template inside VS Code. So I'm gonna get the navigation from the Bootstrap website. So I'm gonna copy this navigation and I'm gonna paste the navigation right here. Okay, so I'm gonna rename this to the Brooklyn. Okay, and I'm gonna remove some of the links. So the first link will be services, and it will go to the services section. So I'm going to duplicate this link. This will go to the work, and this will be let's see, about testimonial context. So this will go to the about section, and I'm going to duplicate this. This will go to the reviews or testimonial. So I'm going to rename this to testimonials, and I'm going to duplicate this link one more time. So this will go to the contact. Okay, so I'm going to refresh the page. Okay, so we have this navigation, and I'm gonna design the hero section. So for that I'm gonna create a div tag a section tag. Inside the section tag, I'm going to create a container and I'm going to give an ID to the section. This will be the hero section. Inside the hero section, I'm going to create a container. Inside the container, I'm going to create a row class. Inside the row class, I'm going to create another class, LG6. Okay, so I'm going to copy the text from the finished project. So I'm going to copy this text and I'm going to paste it right here. Okay, and I'm going to create a paragraph text and I'm going to copy the paragraph text from here and I'm going to paste it right here. Okay, and I'm going to create a button. So for that, I'm going to create a anchor tag and I'm going to create a class button outline dark. So this is the Bootstrap class for the button, outline button. So I'm going to type explore my work. I'm going to save it and I'm going to refresh the page. So I'm going to design the navigation and the hero section. So as you can see, we don't have some space. So I'm going to remove this BG light class first. I'm going to save it and after that I'm going to remove this fluid. Okay, and I need to put some icon on the right side. So for that I have used remix icon library. So I'm going to search for Facebook. I'm going to copy this Facebook icon and below this unordered list I'm going to create another div and I'm going to give a class social links and I'm going to put this the icon inside this anchor tag. So I'm going to duplicate this. So the second one will be Twitter. This will be Google. This will be Dribble. And this will be GitHub. So I'm going to save it and refresh the page. So as you can see, we have these icons. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to push the icons to the right side. So for that, I'm going to add a class margin start, which means margin left auto. Okay, so we have these icons and I need some space between this logo and these nav links. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna select this unordered list. I'm gonna give a margin start on LG for rem. So I'm gonna save it and refresh. So as you can see, we have some space now. Okay, so I'm gonna design this this hero section and navigation. So I have used this Barlow font. So for that I'm gonna type body. So I'm gonna reset the font. So font family will be Barlow. Okay, and if this is not available, then the font will be sans serif. Okay, and I'm gonna give a line height 1.8. okay, and I'm gonna give the color for the text will be the body color. Okay, I'm gonna save it and refresh the page. So as you can see, the font has changed. So before designing the navigation, so I need to change the background for the hero section. Okay, so before that, let me reset some of the properties. So I'm gonna type h1. All the heading will be font weight 800. Okay, and okay, and I'm gonna reset the anchor color. Color will be body color. Okay, and I'm gonna remove the text decoration, none, and I'm gonna give a transition. Okay, and on hover I'm gonna change the color for the anchor link, so the color will be dark on hover. And also I'm gonna give a font weight 700. Okay, so now I'm going to select the image, so all the image will cover 100% space, all the available space. And I'm going to select the section tag. I'm going to have a padding top to something like 170 pixel, padding bottom 170 pixel as well. Okay, save it and refresh. Okay, so I think that's enough for the reset. So I'm gonna design the navigation. So before designing the navigation, let me just change the background color for the hero. I'm gonna change the background URL. So this will go to the asset, the image folder, and I'm gonna select cover. Okay, save it and refresh. So we have this image, and I'm gonna give a minimum height 100 viewport height. Okay, save it and refresh. And the background position for the image is going to be center. Okay, and the size will be cover. Okay, so I think I have given this will be padding bottom. Save it and refresh. So now it is fine. So I'm gonna remove this background from the navigation. So I'm gonna select the navigation. So as you can see on the finished project, we have this transparent navigation, and it is not moving when I scroll down. So I want to achieve this effect. So for that, I'm gonna select the navigation, give a position absolute. Okay, and I'm gonna give a width 100%. Okay, and I'm gonna change the navigation light to navigation dark. Save it and refresh. So we have this navigation. And what I'm going to do, I'm gonna select the brand. So I'm gonna select navbar brand class, and I'm gonna give a font size 24 pixel, and I'm gonna give a text transform uppercase. Save it and refresh. Okay, and I'm gonna increase the size to 28. Okay, then I'm gonna select the navigation link, navbar navigation. Then I'm gonna select the nav link class, and I'm gonna give a text transform uppercase. Okay, and I'm gonna reduce the font size to 14 pixel. Okay, fine. And I'm gonna give the navigation bar to some padding. So I'm gonna give a padding top 24 16 pixel, padding bottom 16 pixel. I'm gonna save it and refresh. So as you can see, we have some space now. And I'm gonna change the navigation icon color, the social links color. So I'm gonna select social link, select the anchor tag. I'm gonna give a width 36 pixel and height 36 pixel as well. And I'm gonna give a background color white. Okay, and I'm gonna give set the display to inline flex. Okay, and I want the icon to be in the center, so for that I'm gonna give a display align item center. Okay, vertically now it is in the center, and for the horizontals I'm gonna give justify content center. Okay, and I'm gonna give a border radius something like 100 pixel. Okay, and I'm gonna increase the font size, the icon size to 22 pixel or 18 pixel. Okay, looking cool. And I want to give some space between the icons, so for that I'm gonna give a margin right, margin left 5 pixel. So we have some space now. So when I resize the window, so as you can see, the navigation is not the navigation is transparent, and the text is not looking clear. So I'm gonna give a background color. Okay, so for that I'm gonna type media. Okay, so I'm gonna give maximum width 992 pixel. Okay, so when the window size is equal to 992 or less than, then I'm going to select the navigation bar, and I'm going to give a background color red for now. I'm going to save it and refresh. So as you can see, when the screen size gets smaller than this, okay, so I have changed the background color which is, and I'm going to change this red to dark color, save it and refresh. So as you can see, the text is looking clear. And also I'm gonna give a z index to the navigation, so some high number. Okay, save it and refresh. So this will be on the top of every element in this website. Okay, looking great. Okay, so now I'm going to design this hero section. Okay, so I'm gonna select hero and select the h1 tag. I'm gonna give color white. Okay, and also I'm gonna give paragraph color to white as well. So I'm gonna select this hero and I'm gonna rename this to the paragraph. Okay, and I want the size to be very large for the heading text. So for that I'm gonna add a class to this h1 display 1, save it and refresh. Okay, looking nice. And I'm gonna select the hero text, hero ID, and I'm gonna select the h1 tag, and I'm gonna give a font weight to something like 900. Okay, so very bold. And then I'm gonna select paragraph text. I'm gonna give a font size 18 pixel. Okay, I'm gonna give a maximum width to 450 pixel. Okay, looking good. And then I'm going to design this button. So I'm gonna select the button class, which is common for all the button. Okay, and I'm gonna give a padding. Okay, so I'm gonna give a 24 pixel top bottom and 54 pixel left and right. Okay, so we have this huge button. And I'm gonna change this to outline light. Okay, I'm gonna give also border width to the button 2 pixel. Okay, and I'm gonna give a border radius as well 100 pixel. Okay, and I'm gonna select font size to 14 pixel and font weight to 700. I'm gonna change the text transform to uppercase. Okay, which is looking good now. I think the 24 is too much, so I'm gonna reduce to 20. Okay, and this to 44. Okay, looking good now. So our hero section is ready. And so when I refresh the page, as you can see here, we have this animation for this text and button. So I have used animate on scroll library, so I'm gonna visit to that website. So I'm gonna click on this link. So as you can see, when I scroll down, you can see these different animations. Okay, so I already have downloaded this CSS and JavaScript file for this library, and I have included this in the starter template, so I don't need to download this again. So we have these different animations, so I'm going to copy this fade up for now. So I'm going to copy this fade up. Okay, and I'm going to come to this H1 and I'm going to paste it right here. Okay, so to initialize it, what I have done, okay, so I have created an app.js file. So inside this file, I have copied the global setting code from the GitHub. So I'm going to open this new window. So this is the global setting. So I have copied this code and I have pasted inside this app.js file. So these are the different values that you can override, like the duration time and the easing. So by default I think it is 500. So let me refresh the page. So as you can see, when I refresh the page, you can see the animation. So if I change this to something like 1000, so you will see the animation, which is a little bit slow. Okay, I think 1000 is looking fine, and you can change this easing. So these are different animation types. So we have this ease out cubic, so I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it right here. So as you can see, the animation has changed. So I think this is looking fine, and you can do this for the individual element. So like for the heading one, so I'm gonna copy this ease in back or different. You can do this for an individual. So the one that I have changed right here, which is like the global setting. So by default it will be like on these values, and if you want to change this for an individual element, you can do that. Okay, and I'm going to copy this delay. Okay, so I'm going to paste it right here for now, and I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it right here, and I want to give some delay. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it right here. Okay, so this animation will occur after 300 milliseconds. So I'm going to save it and refresh the page. So as you can see, the heading, the animation for the heading start first, and after 300 milliseconds, this paragraph animation start. Okay, so I'm gonna do this for the button as well. You can change the animation type like fade down or fade left. So as you can see, okay, so I'm gonna stick to the fade up animation, and I'm gonna copy this from here, and I'm gonna paste it in the button. So I'm gonna give a delay like 500 milliseconds, save it and refresh. Okay, so the animation is little bit slow, so I think I'm gonna change this to something like 800 millisecond. So 800 millisecond is fine. Now I'm going to design this services section. So for that I'm gonna close this, and here I'm gonna create a section. Inside this section I'm gonna create a container, and inside the container I'm gonna create a column 12. Okay, inside this column 12 I'm going to create another div. This will be intro. So we have this intro, so we have a horizontal line at the top, title and a paragraph. So for that I'm going to create a div. This will be a horizontal line, and I'm going to create h1. This will be the heading. So I'm gonna type our services, and I'm gonna put paragraph. I'm gonna copy the text from here. Okay, I'm gonna save it, and I'm going to refresh the page. So we have this service, intro service, and I'm gonna give class display. I want the text to be little bit large, so I'm gonna save it. Okay, and now I'm going to design this intro section. So I'm gonna type intro. I'm gonna give a margin bottom like 60 pixel. Okay, and then I'm gonna select the intro. Then I'm gonna select the horizontal line. I'm gonna give a width something like 60 pixel. I'm gonna give a height 2 pixel, and I'm gonna give a background color to the dark color, and I'm gonna save it and refresh. I'm gonna give height 4 pixel. Okay, and okay, looking good. Then I'm gonna select h1. I'm gonna give a font weight 900. Okay, 900, and the text for the heading will be dark. Okay, and the text transform will be uppercase. Save it and refresh. Okay, and I'm gonna give out some space, margin top like 16 pixel, and margin bottom 16 pixel as well. Okay, so then I'm gonna select the paragraph text, intro paragraph. I'm gonna give a maximum width like 500 pixel. Okay, looking good. And I want the text to be in this center, so for that I'm gonna give a text center class. Okay, so as you can see, the heading text is in the center, but the line and the paragraph is not. So to make that paragraph in the center, so I'm gonna give a maximum margin from the left and right auto. Okay, so this is display, this is a div div tag, so by default it is a block element, so I'm gonna make this to an inline block. So when you make this, when you add a text align center to the inline block, so the line moves to the center. So I'm gonna give this display inline block, save it and refresh. So as you can see, it is now in the center. Okay, looking good. And I'm gonna copy this animation, so I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna paste inside this. I'm gonna save it. So as you can see, when I scroll down, you can see the animation. Okay, looking good. And then I'm going to create another row. Inside this row, I'm gonna create a column LG6. I'm gonna create a service. Inside the service, I'm going to create an icon class. Inside the icon, I'm going to put the icon. So I'm going to search for a ruler. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste inside this icon class. Okay, and then I'm going to create another div. Inside this, I'm going to put the title. So I'm gonna give service title. Okay, and I'm gonna copy the paragraph text from here and I'm gonna paste it right here. Okay, I'm gonna save it and I'm going to refresh the page. Okay, so I'm gonna design this service. So this will be H4. Okay, so I'm going to design the service. So I'm going to select the service. I'm going to display flex. Okay, and then I'm going to select service icon. I'm going to give a width 100 pixel, height 100 pixel, and I'm going to give a background color dark. Okay, and I'm going to make set the display to flex. Okay, and I'm going to set the flex to none. Okay, and I want the icon to be in the center, so I'm gonna say align item center and justify content center as well. Okay, I'm gonna change the font size to something like 44 pixel, 34, and I'm gonna change the color to white. Okay, I'm gonna give a border radius. So I have created the CSS variable, so for the border radius and the border width and the border color, so I'm going to give border radius. So the value for the border variable is 30 pixels, so I'm going to give border radius, save it and refresh. Okay, so then I'm going to give some space. Okay, so I'm going to give some space, margin right 16 pixel, save it and refresh. So we have some space now, and also I'm gonna give a border. I'm gonna give a border width. Okay, so the border width value is now 1 pixel. Border width, and this will be solid. And I'm going to give the border color, save it and refresh. So we have this border, and also I'm going to give a border radius to the service. Okay, I'm going to give a padding, so I'm going to give padding 32 pixel. Okay, looking good. and I'm gonna put link. So I'm gonna give a class link arrow. So I'm gonna put read more. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this arrow, copied, and I'm gonna paste it right here. Okay, so I'm gonna save it and refresh. So we have this arrow now. So I'm gonna design the link arrow. So I'm gonna select the link arrow class. I'm gonna set the text transform to uppercase. Okay, and then I'm gonna select link arrow. Then I'm gonna select the I, and I'm gonna give a transition. Okay, and on hover on link arrow, I'm gonna select the I, and I'm gonna set the transform translate from the x-axis 5 pixel and from the y-axis negative 5 pixel. I'm gonna save it and refresh, so which is not working right now. So I'm gonna set this to display flex. Okay, and I want the content to be in the center vertically. Okay, so as you can see, which is looking good and it's working. So I'm gonna duplicate this service section. So I'm gonna copy this, and I'm gonna change the icon. So the other icon is coffee cup. So I'm gonna replace this with a cup fill. Okay, I'm gonna save it and refresh. So it has now changed, and this should be TV, I guess. Okay, save it and refresh. So I'm gonna search for TV or computer. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna place it right here, and I'm gonna search for the user. I'm gonna copy this one. I'm gonna paste it right here. Okay, I'm gonna save it and refresh the page. So we have these service boxes, and I want to give some space between these service boxes. So for that, I'm gonna select this row, and I'm gonna add a class to the row, getter y for rim. Save it and refresh. So we have some space now, and I'm going to add the animation. So I'm gonna copy this. Okay, I'm gonna paste the animation to the column. Okay, I'm gonna select this. I'm gonna paste it here. So I'm gonna remove this animation for the first one, the delay. This will be 300, this will be 500, and this will be 700. So I'm gonna save it and refresh the page. So as you can see, when I scroll down, okay, looking cool. And now I'm going to design the project section. So I'm gonna duplicate the project, and I'm gonna give ID to this section as well. Okay, so I'm gonna design the project section. So I'm gonna paste it, and this will be work. Okay, so I'm gonna remove this row. So let's see, for this title is my portfolio. So as you can see, we have the intro on the left side and we have a button on the right side. So I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna select this and I'm gonna change this to column LG6. Okay, I'm gonna remove this animation. Okay, I'm going to create another column. So this will be column auto and I'm going to put a button. So I'm going to give a button outline light. This will say view more. I'm going to save it and refresh the page. So which is not looking clear on the white background, so I'm going to select this work ID. I'm gonna give a background color dark. Okay, so as you can see, the button is looking clear but the text is not. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna remove this text center class. Okay, the text is now on the left side but the paragraph is in the center of the intro. So I'm gonna remove this max auto, save it and refresh. So as you can see, the text is now in the center and I want the button to be vertically in the center between the text and the button to be in the center. So I'm going to give a class align item center and I want this to place the text on the left side and the button on the right side. So I'm going to give justify content between, save it and refresh. So we have the text and the button on the left and right side. Align item, so this will be items. Okay, so I'm gonna select the H1 tag. The color for this will be white. Okay, and also I'm going to change the paragraph text and for the horizontal line, so I'm going to select horizontal line, color will be white. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm gonna remove this. Okay, and I'm gonna search for intro. So I'm gonna add a class to the intro. So when the intro has a class white or intro dark, okay, then I'm gonna select the H1. Intro dark, I'm gonna select the paragraph and dark, I'm gonna select horizontal line. Color for this will be white. So I'm gonna add this that class to the intro. So for the dark background, I'm gonna add this intro dark. So let's see. Okay, for the line will not work because the line has a background, so I'm gonna select horizontal line, background will be white. Okay, now it is working. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to design this this portfolio section. So I'm going to design that. So I'm going to create another row. Inside this row, I'm going to create a class column LG4 and on small to large, it will cover 6 column space. I'm gonna put a project. Inside the project I'm gonna create another class. I'm gonna create image wrapper and I'm gonna put an image here. This will go to the asset folder. I'm gonna select project one image. Okay, save it and refresh. So we have this image now, and I'm gonna put a title. So I'm gonna copy the project title and I'm gonna put this link arrow. So I'm gonna copy the link arrow. So I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna paste it right here. I'm gonna save it and refresh. So as you can see, the text for the heading is not looking clear, so I'm gonna select project H3. I'm gonna give a color white. Okay, and I'm gonna give some space, so I'm gonna give a margin top 16 pixel or 24. Okay, and I'm gonna select project image wrapper, and I'm gonna set doer flow to hidden. So I'm gonna achieve this animation. So as you can see, when I hover on the image, okay, here is the problem. So when I hover on the link on the dark background, so as you can see, the link disappears. So I'm gonna search for link more or link arrow, and I'm gonna add a class link arrow. I'm gonna type link dark. On link dark, the color will be white. Okay, I'm gonna add a color on link dark. On hover, the color will be white, so I'm gonna add this class. So let's see. Okay, so let me double check this. Okay, so this will be link. Okay. Color white, and also I'm gonna set the color to the body color. Okay, so as you can see, it's looking good, and I'm gonna select the image. So project image wrapper, I'm going to select the image and I'm going to give a border radius variable. So as you can see, we have this border radius, and on hover I want to achieve this effect. So for that I'm gonna give a transform scale to 1.1. okay, and also I'm gonna give a border radius to this image wrapper. okay, so I'm gonna give a transition to the image. okay, so now when I hover on this project, I'm going to select the image wrapper, and then I'm going to select the image and I'm going to set the transform scale to 1. okay, so as you can see, looking nice. Now I'm going to duplicate this project. I'm going to paste it one more time. This will be project 6, 5, 4 and 3, 2, 1. okay, so we have these different projects now, and what I want to give some space between the projects. So I'm going to select the row and give gutter y 4 rem or 5 rem. okay, 5 rem is looking cool. And I also need the animation for this intro title and this section, so I'm going to copy the animation. okay, this will be the work, and I'm gonna put this here and I'm gonna remove this delay. I'm gonna save it and refresh. So as you can see, and I'm gonna do this for these services, for these portfolio items. So I'm gonna collapse these and I'm gonna put it here. Remove this delay. I'm gonna paste it here. And I'm gonna change the delay for this one. This will be 400, 5, 6 and 7. I'm going to refresh the page, so you will see. okay, nice. And now I'm going to design this about a section. So I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna copy this section. I'm gonna paste it, and I don't need this row, so I'm gonna remove this row. okay, so what we have in this about us section, so we have 2 columns. In the first column we have this intro and some text and button, and on the right side we have this image. So I'm gonna type column LG5. okay, and I'm going to remove this paragraph text. okay, this will be okay, and I'm going to refresh the page. Okay, so the text will be in the left side. Okay, I'm gonna copy this text. I'm gonna paste below the intro. Okay, I'm gonna create another paragraph and I'm gonna copy the text and I'm gonna paste it right here, and I'm gonna refresh the page. So we have the text now, and I'm gonna put a button. So I'm gonna put a button here. Median outline dark. This will say contact me. Okay, so as you can see, we have some space because we have given 60 pixel space on the intro section. So I'm gonna give margin bottom 4 rem. Okay, 4 rem is looking good. And now I'm going to put an image on the right column. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna create another column LG6. Okay, I'm gonna put an image. This will go to the image, about image, save it and refresh. And I'm gonna give some space between the text and this image, so I'm gonna push the image one column from the left side on large device, save it and refresh. So we have some space now, and I'm gonna give this ID about. I'm gonna select the about ID, and then I'm gonna select the image and give a border radius, save it and refresh. Okay, so this is our about us section, and now I'm going to design this review section. So I'm gonna collapse this, and I'm gonna copy this service section. I'm gonna paste it here. Okay, so I want to give the animation to the image as well. So I'm gonna copy this, and I'm gonna give the animation to the image column as well. Okay, looking good. Or I can give this animation to the whole section, to this section, or to this row. Okay, and the text for this will be, I'm gonna change this to testimonial, and the text for this will be, I'm gonna save it and I'm going to refresh the page, and I'm gonna change the color for this section as well. So I'm gonna break the line here. Listen to my, okay, I'm gonna select the ID testimonial. I'm gonna give a background color F5. So this section color is a little bit lighter, or F9, F8. Okay, looking good. So I'm gonna design this review section. So I'm gonna create another row. Inside the row I'm gonna create another column LG6, and inside this column I'm gonna create review. Okay, so I'm gonna copy the review text. I'm gonna put inside a paragraph. Okay, then I'm going to create a div class, a div. So this will be like a row. So on the first column I want to place this image text and this text, and on the other column I want to put this stars. So this will be, I'm going to give a class row. On the first column I want to place this the image. So I'm going to create another div. Okay, I'm gonna put an image here. So I'm gonna put image. I'm gonna put an image here. Okay, and I'm gonna copy the text, and inside this I'm gonna create another div. I'm gonna put a small tag. Okay, so I'm gonna create another column. I'm gonna put stars here. So I'm gonna search for star. I'm gonna put the star here. I'm gonna give a class stars. Okay, so now I'm gonna display this this section flex, display flex. Okay, I want this to give the content between, so as you can see, and I'm going to remove this flex class from the column, and I'm going to wrap this inside a div. I'm going to paste it here, and now I'm going to give display flex. I'm going to give a class person. Okay, and I'm gonna design the review section now. So I'm gonna select the review. Okay, I'm gonna give a border color. I'm gonna give a border width solid, and I'm gonna give a border color. Okay, so we have this border now, and I'm going to give a border radius to this section as well. Border radius. Okay, I'm going to give a padding 32 pixel. Okay, I'm going to give a background color as well, white. Okay, so I'm gonna design this. I'm gonna select the person. Person. I'm gonna set this to display flex. Okay, I'm gonna select the image. I'm gonna set the width to unset. Okay, I'm gonna give border radius. Okay, and I want the item to be in the center, so align item center, and I'm gonna give some space, margin right 16 pixel. Okay, looking cool. And I want this to be in this center, so the stars to be in this center. So I can add Bootstrap utility classes, so like I'm gonna give align item center. Okay, I'm gonna select stars. I'm gonna give a color orange. Okay, and then I'm gonna select the paragraph. I'm gonna give a margin bar. I'm gonna give a border bottom color. I'm gonna give border width, which is 1 pixel, solid, and border color. Okay, I'm gonna give a padding bottom as well, 16 pixel. Okay, looking cool. So our review section is ready. Okay, so we have this horizontal spacing, so I'm gonna check why we have this horizontal spacing. So okay, so as you can see, we have this horizontal scrolling. It is because of the width of this paragraph, the intro paragraph. So this should be maximum width. I'm gonna save it and refresh. So as you can see, we don't have that horizontal scrolling. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this review section. So I'm gonna duplicate this. Oops. So I'm gonna duplicate this section. Okay, and I'm gonna change this to a bit better for 3, and this will be 2. Save it and refresh, and I'm gonna give some space, so I'm gonna select 4. Okay, I'm gonna give this padding, the animation, to this as well. So I'm gonna copy this. So you can try different animation like flip left or right or fade up. So you can try these animations. So I'm gonna select this and I'm gonna duplicate this by Control D. I'm gonna paste it, and I'm gonna remove this one. This will be 300, 4 and 5. I'm gonna save it and refresh the page. So we have these animations. Okay, looking great. And now I'm going to design this contact us form. So for that, I'm gonna create a section, and I'm gonna copy this row, and I'm going to create a container. Inside the container, I'm going to paste the row, and I'm going to give ID contact, and this will be fade up. So I'm going to rename this to let's get in touch today. I'm going to replace this with this text, and I'm going to break the line here. Okay, I'm going to design the contact us form. So I'm going to create another row. Inside this row, I'm going to create a column LG8. Okay, Okay, I'm gonna create another class of row. Okay, and I'm gonna put column LG 6, and I'm gonna put input form, type will be text, and placeholder is going to be name. Okay, I'm gonna duplicate this, and I'm gonna this will be email, placeholder is going to be email, and I'm going to give a class form control. Okay, I'm going to save it and refresh. So we have this form, and I'm going to duplicate this. This will going to cover 12 column space, and it's going to be subject. I'm going to duplicate this column, and I'm going to put a text area here, and I'm going to remove this ID and name, so we don't need this for now. And I'm going to remove this column as well. I'm going to give a class form control. I'm going to give a row 5 row. I'm going to save it and refresh. So we have this form, and I'm going to create another column. I'm going to put button, type is equal to submit, class is equal to, class is going to be button dark, okay, I'm gonna save it and refresh. So we have this button. So I'm gonna design the form. So I'm gonna type contact, then I'm going to select the form. I'm going to give a padding 32 pixel. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm going to give a border width solid, and a border color. Color is going to be the border color. Okay, padding is going to be padding, and I'm going to give a border radius as well. So I'm going to type border radius, set the value to the border radius variable. I'm going to save it and refresh. So I want the form to be in the center, so I can make the form to in the center. So I'm going to add a class margin left and auto, left and right auto. I'm going to save it and refresh. So I'm going to design the form. I'm going to select the contact. I'm going to select the form, and I'm going to select the form control class, and I'm going to give a background color. Okay, and I'm going to remove the border. Border will be transparent. Okay, and I'm going to give some space. So for that, I'm going to select this row. I'm going to give a gutter y4 rim. Okay, 3. 3 will be good. And I'm going to give a border radius as well. Border radius. Okay, then I'm going to select contact form. Then I'm going to select input, having a class form control. I'm going to give a height 56 pixel. Okay, I'm gonna give a padding to the left side as well, 18 pixel. Okay, I'm gonna give a placeholder to this as well. Okay, so our form is ready, and I'm gonna design this Instagram section. So I'm gonna add this pad of animation to this form as well. Okay, I'm gonna design Instagram section. So I'm gonna give a padding top and bottom 0. Okay, I'm gonna give a class padding top and bottom 0, and I'm gonna give a width 100%. I'm gonna give ID Insta Posts. Okay, this I'm gonna give a class row, and I'm gonna put column. I'm gonna put an image here as it Insta Post image 1, and I'm gonna duplicate this. I'm gonna copy this, I'm gonna paste it, and I'm gonna change this to 2, 3 and 4. So we have these Insta images, and I'm gonna create an anchor tag here, and I'm gonna give ID Insta logo or Insta follow. I'm gonna put Instagram remix icon. So I'm gonna search for the Instagram icon. So I'm gonna copy this, and I'm gonna paste it right here. Okay, I'm gonna save it and refresh. So we have this icon here, and I want the icon to be in the center of these posts. So I'm gonna select Insta Posts. I'm gonna give a position relative. Okay, then I'm gonna select Insta follow. Insta follow. So I'm gonna copy this class, and I'm gonna put it, and then I'm gonna give a width like 90 pixel, height 90 pixel, and I'm gonna give a background color as well. Background color is going to be dark. Okay, so we have the icon here, and I'm gonna give a color white. Okay, I'm gonna put the icon to in the center, so I'm gonna make it flex, align item center, and justify content center. I'm gonna give a font size 44 pixel. I'm gonna give a border radius to this as well. So I'm gonna put the icon in the center, so I'm gonna give a position absolute, from the top 50%, and from the left side 50%. Okay, so this is not in the center, so I'm gonna make this center, transform, translate, negative 50%, negative 50%. So this is now exactly in this center. Okay, so I'm gonna select this Insta follow on hover. Okay, so the icon is disappearing when I hover on this. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna change the background color to white. Okay, nice. And I'm gonna hide this for now. I'm gonna give opacity 0, and from the top I'm gonna give like 60%, and on hover I'm gonna select Insta follow. I'm gonna give opacity 1, and I'm gonna give from the top 50%. So as you can see, okay, and now I'm gonna design the footer section. I'm gonna create a section. Inside this section I'm gonna create a footer. I'm gonna create a container. Inside the container I'm gonna create a row. I'm gonna create a column auto. So in the first column I have email and phone number, so I'm gonna copy this email. So I'm gonna put paragraph text. I'm gonna type email, and I'm gonna place the email here. I'm gonna save it and refresh the page, and I'm gonna remove the padding bottom from the email, margin bottom 0. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this inside a div, and I'm gonna duplicate this, and I'm gonna give this phone number. I'm gonna copy the phone number, and I'm gonna paste it right here. I'm going to refresh the page. Okay, and I need to get some space, so for that I'm gonna select this, margin top for him. Okay, and on the second column we have this follow me. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna copy the social icons from the navigation, and I'm gonna place so this will be the footer top. I'm gonna create another column auto, so I'm gonna put h5 follow me on, and I'm gonna put social icons here. I'm gonna refresh the page, so we have these social icons. So I'm gonna push these icons to the right side. Okay, save it and refresh, and I'm gonna change the background color for these social icons. So I'm gonna select the footer, and I'm gonna select social links. I'm gonna select the anchor tag. I'm gonna give a background color, let's say the dark color. Okay, I'm gonna give background color which is white, and I'm gonna give a shadow, box shadow. I'm gonna give 0 pixel, 20 pixel, or I'm gonna give a border color. So let me just give a border color. Border, let's say I'm gonna give a 2 pixel. I'm gonna give border width solid, and I'm gonna give a border color. Okay, so as you can see, which is looking good, and I'm gonna give some space. I'm gonna give a margin bottom 3 rem. Okay, so this is our footer top, so I'm gonna give a class footer top, and I'm gonna duplicate this footer top, and I'm gonna give this class footer bottom, and I'm going to remove this content. and I'm gonna put copyright text. Okay, so I removed the margin bottom, so I'm gonna copy this, and this will be like designed by someone, so I'm gonna copy that text. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this inside anchor tag, so I'm gonna leave a link to my YouTube channel here. I'm gonna put the text here. I'm gonna refresh the page. Okay, so I'm gonna design this footer. So I'm gonna select footer top. I'm gonna give a padding bottom 30 pixel. Okay, and I'm gonna give a border bottom as well. Border width solid border color. Okay, then I'm gonna select footer bottom. I'm gonna give a padding top 30 pixel as well. Okay, and I'm gonna give padding bottom 30 pixel as well. Okay, and I don't need the space, so I'm gonna give class padding bottom is going to be 0. Okay, which is looking cool now. Okay, so our design has finally finished, so let's see. Okay, looking cool. Okay guys, so that's it for this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. If you did so, make sure to like and leave a comment. If you have any question, feel free to ask. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.